Welcome back. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me today. We are diving straight into a phenomenal breakdown from Amon's AI journal that looks at a massive leap forward in artificial intelligence. We're talking about Visual ChatGPT. Specifically, we're looking at how researchers figured out a way to teach a purely text-based AI how to see, draw, and edit images, all without having to rebuild the entire brain of the AI from scratch. It is a fascinating look at how we're bridging the gap between text and sight, and the incredibly clever engineering making it all happen. Okay, let's take a really quick look at our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the AI communication gap, meet Visual ChatGPT itself, see the system architecture in action, dive into the prompt manager, and finally look at some of the current system limitations. So, starting off with Section 1, the AI communication gap, or as I like to call it, the blind conversationalist and the amnesiac artist. Here is the fundamental problem we were facing before this breakthrough. On the left side, you've got standard ChatGPT. It's an exceptional conversationalist, absolutely brilliant with language, but it's effectively blind. It cannot see or generate images, period. Then, on the right side, you have these visual foundation models, or VFMs, like Stable Diffusion. These are absolute savants at visual understanding and generation, right? But they kind of have amnesia. You can't actually hold a multi-turn conversation with them. You give them a prompt, you get an image, and boom, the interaction abruptly ends. So you had these two brilliant but completely isolated AI silos that literally couldn't talk to each other. And solving this bottleneck was absolutely crucial because true artificial general intelligence requires seamless interaction across all forms of media, not just text. Which brings us to Section 2. Meet Visual ChatGPT, the multimodal bridge. Instead of trying to build a massive new model from scratch, researchers basically created a collaborative interface. Visual ChatGPT allows you to interact multimodally. You're not just chatting with text anymore, you are sending and receiving images seamlessly right within the chat. You can give it crazy complex, multi-step visual editing instructions that actually require different AI models to team up and collaborate. And crucially, because it's built on a conversational foundation, you can provide feedback. It remembers what you just did, so you can just ask for corrected results on the fly. All right, Section 3, System Architecture in Action. Let's trace the yellow flower journey. So, why did they choose this specific architecture? Well, taking a brute force approach and training a brand new multimodal model entirely from scratch would require massive computational resources. Plus, it wouldn't easily scale. If you wanted to add audio or video down the line, you'd basically have to train it all over again. They wanted to avoid reinventing the wheel. And honestly, from a broader tech perspective, this modular approach is exactly how future AI systems are going to be built, by stacking existing, highly specialized tools rather than starting from zero every single time. So they built Visual ChatGPT directly on top of standard ChatGPT and essentially just handed it a massive toolkit of specialized visual models to use. And this beautifully illustrates the architecture in action. Let's say you upload a picture of a yellow flower and type a really complex instruction. Please generate a red flower conditioned on the predicted depth of this image and then construct it like a cartoon, step by step. The system systematically cascades through its specialized tools. Step 1, it calls a depth estimation model just to understand the 3D shape of your flower. Step 2, it passes that depth info over to a depth-to-image model to generate a red flower in that exact same shape. Step 3, it hands that new red flower to a style transfer model like Stable Diffusion to make it a cartoon. ChatGPT isn't actually drawing anything here. It's just delegating the tasks to the right experts in the exact right order. Moving on to Section 4, the prompt manager. This is the secret sauce orchestrating the AI orchestra. You can really think of the prompt manager as a bilingual conductor for this entire setup. See, ChatGPT speaks text. The visual models, they speak in pixels, depth maps, and masks. They absolutely cannot understand each other naturally. So the prompt manager sits right in the middle, bridging the gap. It translates all that visual data into text that ChatGPT can actually process while defining the internal communication rules so your request gets executed perfectly. To keep this orchestra playing smoothly, the prompt manager has 3 main jobs. First, it explicitly tells ChatGPT the exact capabilities and the required input/output formats of every single visual model. Second, it literally converts visual info, like a PNG image or a depth mask, into a textual format so ChatGPT can read it. And third, it handles the histories, priorities, and any conflicts between these models so they don't trip over each other while working. And to put the scale of this orchestration into perspective, the prompt manager is successfully combining and managing 22 completely different visual foundation models behind the scenes. 22. That is wild. Now, managing 22 different tools means you need some extremely strict rules. So the prompt manager clearly defines 4 aspects for every single tool. It gives it a name as a concise entry point, a usage description so ChatGPT knows the exact scenario to use it in, strict input and output formats, and optionally an example prompt so the AI fully grasps how the tool behaves. Because look, replacing an object in an image and answering a question about an image, those are completely different tasks. These definitions guarantee the system grabs the exact right tool for the job. Of course, to handle the data flow seamlessly, the prompt manager has to keep track of all the visuals flying around. For any newly uploaded image or any new image generated during the chat, it immediately assigns it a universally unique identifier, a UUID file name. This acts as a highly reliable tracking asset. If you reference an existing image later in your chat, it just checks for this UUID. It's a remarkably clean way to keep our text-based AI tethered to the actual visual files. But honestly, my absolute favorite part of the prompt manager is this seemingly simple phrase it appends to the end of user queries. Thought, do I need to use a tool? Because Visual ChatGPT is inherently a text language model, its natural instinct is to just hallucinate an answer using its imagination. But this specific suffix prompt forces an internal monologue. It forces the AI to pause, stop making things up, and actually fetch the real visual foundation models to observe the image objectively. It literally forces the AI to use its tools. Finally, Section 5, Current System Limitations. Time to ground the hype just a little bit. As revolutionary as this architecture is, the source material points out some very real hurdles. First off, it is entirely bottlenecked by the accuracy of its parts. If ChatGPT assigns the wrong task, or the visual model fails the execution, the whole output tanks. Second, bridging these models requires some incredibly heavy, complex prompt engineering, which is time-consuming to develop. Third, you've got a real latency issue. Invoking multiple heavy models sequentially for one query means you are definitely not getting real-time responses. And finally, relying on all these different visual models means you are constantly plugging into remote APIs. Which brings us to some massive privacy implications. As we rapidly move toward this future where master interfaces seamlessly plug into dozens of different AI models to do our bidding, how on earth are we going to secure the deeply personal data flowing continuously between them? It is a fascinating challenge that engineers are going to have to solve, and fast. Thank you so much for exploring this incredible breakdown of Visual ChatGPT with me today. Keep asking those big questions, keep exploring, and I will catch you on the next explainer.